Hello guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Kevin. Today we're going to talk about my training plan for Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon. If you follow me on Instagram, definitely you know I already went through 12 weeks training for Twin City Marathon, but that is not a training for Twin City Marathon. Actually, that is a training for Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon. Before I start, disclaimer, this is not a professional advice or any research done by anybody. I'm not a coach or anything. This is a test method that I did it previously and I just reuse it and it works for me and I just reuse this method. So remember, this is not a professional advice. So watch the video by your own judgment. So let's start. To Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon right now is about 5 months time and I already start my training 3 months before. That means it's on the February. So total I have 8 months of training. The first 3 months I consider as a phase 1. Phase 1 training is more to weekly mileage that I build up my endurance base that I mentioned on this video before. If you watch on this video that I mentioned, that is the base build up training period. During this first phase period is focusing on endurance base. That means building the endurance base before starting the phase 2. That is the Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered training. That's more focusing on speed and endurance together. I put it on the first phase. The first 3 months is building up my endurance base from weekly mileage around 50 plus, build up to 100 km per week. It slowly and gradually increase and stable and increase again. If you see from the chart, when I starting is around 56 km and I slowly increase to 60, 70, 80 and become 90, 95. And the last 2 weeks before the 12-week period, I reached 100 km weekly mileage. During this period, when I starting on this training, my Garmin score of endurance dropped below 7,000 and I slowly increase it and it almost reached to 8,000. So during this 12 weeks period, it slowly increased. If you see properly on the last 7 weeks and onwards, it's directly shoot up. That is the period when I starting to run half marathon on my long run. That a lot of people mention why I run a half marathon to train for a half marathon. Why I'm doing this rather than speed work, long run, base run, everything mixed up. I'm more focusing on endurance because I want to build back my endurance base and much more ready, my leg much more ready before start the phase 2 full marathon training for Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon, that much more focusing on speed work, hill work and speed endurance so that my leg, my body can take the punishment during that 5 months period. So what's the con of this training? Definitely I will lose some of my speed during this period because this period most of my time around 90% or 85% I train off mileage, more to base run and more to endurance, getting further and further on my leg. But I'm lacking some of my speed work. For the speed work, I reduce to 1 time a week or sometimes none when I doesn't have much time for some speed work or I'm feeling tired after long run or endurance run. So that definitely the speed work is lesser during this 12 week. Speed I might lose a bit, but I did some testing on the week 8 or week 9. I go for a half marathon run and I'm able to complete in 1 hour 39 minutes. It's considered a good timing for me during this endurance training without much speed work incurred into the timeline itself. If I'm not wrong, during my training period week 7, 8 and 9, my training a bit stagnant during that time. It's not really pushing much on the mileage because my body feeling tired. My weekly mileage that time is around 85 km per week, almost stagnant for 3 weeks. During that period, around 85 km, that my body starting to adjust. I feel tired, fatigue during that period when I going for the adjustment, when I starting pushing to 85 km weekly. Once over there, then my body getting much more usual and I starting to push to 90 km on the following week. After that, the last 2 weeks I able to achieve to 100 km per week with less fatigue and tired to my body because I have a grace period for my body to adapt the punishment that I throw on it. The training method that I use is almost similar to what training method that we use, but it's much more focused on one item that is build the endurance base. It's similar like how we train daily, how we run weekly before enter to the marathon training block, but I make it from 5 months training to 8 months of training, so I make it longer on my training marathon block. But the first 3 months of marathon training block, the first phase is mainly building the base, so that I can save some time building the base much more earlier, and the 5 months of training I can much more focus on speed rather than more endurance, how to build my mileage up. One important thing that I learned about this training is recovery. It's not about going out for easy recovery jog or anything, go for massage or anything. For me, it's sleeping. The most important thing in these 12 weeks of training that I learned. Before that, I'm not really sleeping much, around 5 hours a day, maximum 6 hours a day. That is the max training. My body feels very fatigued and tired sometimes. Sometimes I go for a very easy jog because my body is very fatigued. But I changed my sleeping routine. I slept much more, 6 to 7 hours, and sometimes I have some power nap like 10 to 20 minutes on my noon time when I have time to snack around. So sleeping is one of the things that I learned. My body is much more energized and less fatigued, and I'm much more ready for training, because some of my training I go for back-to-back training, morning training and nighttime training, sometimes morning training or lunchtime running. So I have much more time for me to train up my mileage, build up my body, and I have some time for some nap and sleep much more longer. For nutrition, I didn't change any of my nutrition routine. I just ate whatever I ate ever possible, because my time is very limited for me to cook anything. Whatever I got, the mixed rice, jaffa, nasi kandar, anything I found, I just ate and fill up myself. Fuel for your body is important, because you cannot have diet and training together, because your body doesn't have much energy. So I ate whatever possible meal that I get, I will eat, then I continue my training with it. So with all this raw data, definitely I can start planning with my Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon, because I already know my base, endurance, and what is my fitness. I can start to puzzle around what pace that I need to go for training, what speed endurance that I need to do, what kind of speed work I need to do, and what kind of mileage that my body can take. So I can puzzle around for this 24 weeks of training lead to Kuala Lumpur Standard Chartered Marathon. So for Twin City Half Marathon, will I go all out? For me, definitely no, because I'm going to pace with my friend and come out something special during that day. We're going to pace each other on the race itself. So see you guys on the race.